The chapter traces the origins and rise of Kyivan Rus, beginning with the 9th century arrival of Viking leader Rurik, who established rule in Novgorod. His successor, Oleg the Prophet, conquered Kyiv in 882 CE, declaring it the capital of Kyivan Rus. The state flourished as a major trade hub between Europe and Asia, and under Prince Volodymyr the Great, it embraced Eastern Orthodox Christianity in 988 CE, uniting the people under one faith. Kyivan Rus reached its zenith under Yaroslav the Wise, 1019 to 1054, known for legal reforms and diplomatic alliances. However, internal divisions and the Mongol invasion led to Kyiv's fall in 1240, marking the end of Kyivan Rus but leaving a lasting legacy in Eastern Slavic culture and identity. Let's travel to the history. Our story begins in the 9th century, in a world dominated by powerful empires and warring tribes. To the west, the Carolingian Empire held sway. To the east, the Byzantine Empire flourished, its golden domes gleaming in the sun. And in the north, fierce Viking warriors known as the Varangians sailed their longships down the rivers of Eastern Europe, seeking trade, conquest, and glory. Among these warriors was a man named Rurik, a Scandinavian leader who, according to the old chronicles, was invited by the Slavic tribes to rule over them. Whether he was truly invited or simply seized power is still debated, but what we do know is that Rurik established his rule in Novgorod around 862 CE. Yet, it wasn't Rurik who would create the grand state of Kyivan Rus. That honor would go to his successor, Oleg the Prophet. Imagine standing on the banks of the mighty Dnipro River in the year 882 CE. The sun glints off the polished shields of Varangian warriors as their prince, Oleg, leads them southward. His goal? The rich and strategically vital city of Kyiv. At the time, Kyiv was ruled by two brothers, Askold and Dar, who were also of Varangian descent. But Oleg, believing they were unworthy of ruling, tricked them into lowering their guard and had them both executed. As his men seized the city, Oleg declared, "Let Kyiv be the mother of all Rus cities." With those words, Kyiv became the new capital of what would grow into Kyivan Rus, the first great, Slavic state, stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea. Under Oleg and his successors, Kyivan Rus flourished. The land was rich in furs, honey, wax, and slaves, making it a key hub in the trade network linking Scandinavia, Byzantium, and the Islamic caliphates. But Oleg wanted more than wealth, he wanted power and recognition. And so, in 907, he led a daring campaign against the Byzantine Empire itself. His fleet of warships sailed down the Black Sea, raiding and pillaging until the mighty Byzantines had no choice but to sign a treaty, granting Kyivan merchants favorable trade rights. Legend says that to mark his victory, Oleg nailed his shield to the gates of Constantinople, a bold statement that Kyivan Rus had arrived on the world stage. For nearly a century, the rulers of Kyivan Rus remained pagan, worshipping gods like Purin, god of thunder, and Dazbog, god of the sun. But everything changed under Prince Volodymyr the Great, who came to power in 980 CE. Volodymyr was a warrior and a statesman, but he understood that if Kyivan Rus was to be truly respected among the great civilizations of the world, it needed more than just military strength, it needed a unifying faith. According to legend, Volodymyr sent envoys to study the religions of the neighboring peoples. The envoys found Islam in the east too restrictive, Judaism too uncertain, and Western Christianity unimpressive. But when they visited Constantinople, they were awestruck by the magnificence of the Hagia Sophia. "We no longer knew whether we were in heaven or on earth," they reported, and so, in 988 CE, Volodymyr made his fateful decision. He embraced Eastern Orthodox Christianity. He was baptized in the Crimean city of Chersonesus, and upon his return to Kyiv, he ordered the mass conversion of his people. Pagan idols were cast into the Dnipro River, and magnificent churches began to rise. Kyivan Rus had officially entered the Christian world. Under Yaroslav the Wise, Kyivan Rus reached the height of its power. Yaroslav was not just a ruler, he was a lawgiver, builder, and diplomat. He strengthened the legal system, creating the Ruskaya Pravda, one of the first written law codes in Eastern Europe. He encouraged education and literacy, commissioning the St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, whose stunning frescoes and mosaics still amaze visitors today. Perhaps most impressively, Yaroslav married his daughters into the royal families of France, Hungary, and Norway, earning him the nickname, the father-in-law of Europe. Kyivan Rus was now one of the most powerful states in Europe. But as history often shows, great empires do not last forever. By the 12th century, Kyivan Rus was no longer a single, unified state. Rival princes fought among themselves, dividing the land into competing principalities, Kyiv, Novgorod, Chernihiv, and others. One of the greatest warriors of this time was Prince Volodymyr Monomakh, who tried to restore unity, but after his death, the rivalries only grew worse. Threat appeared on the horizon: the Mongols. In 1237, the Mongol hordes under Bata Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, launched an invasion of Rus. One by one, the great cities fell: Ryazan, Vladimir, Suzdal, until, in 1240, the Mongols reached Kyiv itself. For days, the city resisted, but the Mongols were relentless. Finally, they breached the walls, massacring its inhabitants and leaving Kyiv in ruins. The golden age of Kyivan Rus was over. The Mongol conquest would mark the beginning of centuries of foreign domination. But the legacy of Kyivan Rus would live on. Its traditions, its Orthodox faith, and its influence would shape the future of both Ukraine and Russia. Though Kyivan Rus fell, its spirit never died. The seeds of Ukrainian identity had been planted in its culture, its faith, and its language. Future generations would look back on Kyiv's golden age as a time of greatness, a time when Ukraine stood as a powerful force in Europe. And though the Mongols may have burned the city, they could never erase its legacy. Kyiv remained the heart of Eastern Slavic civilization, and its influence would echo through the centuries. Kyiv was the mother of all Rus cities, and it remains the soul of Ukraine to this day.